Have you ever wondered why some people earn a fortune yet remain trapped by stress, debt and insecurity, while others with far less walk through life with quiet confidence and unshakable peace? The difference isn't income, it isn't luck, and it certainly isn't talent. The difference is character. The ancient Stoics understood a truth that most people today have forgotten. Every dollar you save is far more than money. It is proof that you can master yourself. Every unnecessary purchase you resist is a victory over impulse. Every sacrifice you make today is a declaration that your future matters more than your temporary desires. In a world that tells you to spend first and think later, choosing to save is a revolutionary act. It is an act of discipline, an act of wisdom. Most importantly, it is an act of self-respect. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, yet he believed that true power was not the ability to command others, but the ability to command yourself. Seneca possessed immense wealth, yet warned that the richest person is not the one who owns the most, but the one who needs the least. Epictetus owned almost nothing, yet lived freer than many kings because no possession ever owned his mind. Today we're going to uncover one of the most overlooked Stoic principles of all: how saving money doesn't just build wealth, it builds the kind of character that no economic crisis, no market crash, and no misfortune can ever take away. By the end of this video, you won't see money the same way again. You'll understand why every coin you choose not to waste is another brick in the foundation of your freedom, why every disciplined decision strengthens your self-respect, and why the path to lasting wealth has always begun, not in your bank account, but in your mind. So take a deep breath, set aside every distraction, and join me as we explore how saving money builds self-respect, the Stoic way. Part 1. The first wealth is self-mastery. There is a quiet truth that the world rarely celebrates. It is not flashy. It does not attract attention. It cannot be displayed on social media or measured by applause. Yet it is the foundation upon which every great life is built. That truth is this: every coin you choose not to waste strengthens your character. Most people think saving money is about becoming rich. The Stoics thought differently. To them, money was never the destination. Character was. A person with great wealth but little discipline remained poor in spirit. A person with modest means but complete mastery over his desires possessed a fortune that no thief could steal. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire worth more than entire kingdoms. Yet every morning he reminded himself that happiness did not depend on possessions. Seneca became one of Rome's richest men, but he deliberately practiced living with very little so that wealth would never become his master. Epictetus owned almost nothing. He had once been a slave, yet history remembers him not for what he possessed, but for the freedom he carried inside himself. The lesson they all shared is simple. Money is not merely something you keep in a bank. Money is evidence of decisions. Every dollar saved tells the story of a temptation resisted. Every unnecessary purchase avoided is proof that reason defeated impulse. Every investment in your future is a declaration that tomorrow matters more than today's cravings. Saving money is not really about your wallet. It is about your identity. Who are you becoming each time you decide not to spend? The modern world encourages the opposite. It whispers every hour that happiness is one purchase away. Your phone fills with advertisements. Your friends display lifestyles designed to provoke envy. Influencers convince you that luxury equals success. Stores create artificial urgency, limited offers, flash sales, exclusive drops. Everything is engineered to make patients feel foolish. The Stoics would recognize this immediately. They understood that human beings are constantly tempted by appearances. They knew that desire grows faster than satisfaction. What you desperately want today becomes ordinary tomorrow. Then the chase begins again. The cycle never ends. This is why the Stoics believed the greatest victory was not earning more. It was wanting less. Imagine two men. The first earns $10,000 every month. The second earns $3,000. The first spends every cent trying to impress strangers, luxury clothes, expensive restaurants, a car payment he secretly fears, debt hidden behind confidence. The second lives below his means. He saves consistently. He invests carefully. He sleeps peacefully. Years pass. Who is truly wealthy? The world looks at income. The Stoic looks at freedom, because freedom is the ability to say no. No to unnecessary expenses. No to social pressure. No to impulsive pleasures. No to becoming a servant of your own desires. When you begin saving money, something remarkable happens. At first, the amount seems insignificant. Perhaps you save only a few dollars each day, maybe only a small percentage of your paycheck. It feels almost meaningless. But something larger than the money is growing. You begin trusting yourself. You discover that your promises are no longer empty. When you tell yourself, "I will not spend this," and you actually keep that promise, your mind notices. Confidence is born. Not the loud confidence that seeks validation. The quiet confidence that comes from keeping your word. Most people lose self-respect long before they lose money. Every time they promise themselves they will save, then spend it. Every time they promise to avoid debt, then borrow again. Every time they say next month will be different, then repeat the same habits. Eventually they stop believing themselves. This is one of the greatest hidden costs of poor financial habits. You don't merely lose dollars. You lose trust in your own discipline. Without realizing it, your inner voice changes. Instead of saying, "I can depend on myself," it begins saying, "I always fail." The Stoics understood that self-respect is built through repeated acts of integrity. Integrity means your actions agree with your principles. If you believe saving matters, then save. If you believe debt is dangerous, then avoid unnecessary debt. If you believe discipline creates freedom, then practice discipline daily. Every action either strengthens or weakens your identity. This is why saving money is deeply connected to self-respect. Each act of restraint tells your mind, "I am a person who governs myself." Notice something fascinating. The wealthiest habits are often invisible. Nobody applauds the meal you didn't buy. Nobody congratulates you for ignoring an advertisement. Nobody notices the subscription you cancelled. Nobody celebrates the impulse purchase you resisted. The victories happen in silence. The Stoics loved silent victories. Marcus Aurelius wrote many of his thoughts only for himself. He never intended the world to read them. His greatest battles were internal, against anger, against ego, against fear, against temptation. Your financial discipline is no different. No audience is required. You are competing against yesterday's version of yourself. Every saved dollar becomes another brick in the fortress of your character. Imagine building a stone wall. One stone appears insignificant. 2 stones change nothing. 10 stones still seem unimpressive. But after years of consistency, those small stones become an unbreakable fortress. Saving money works exactly the same way. The amount matters less than the habit. Small actions repeated long enough transform identity. This is where modern culture becomes dangerous. People celebrate outcomes. The Stoics celebrated processes. People admire millionaires. The Stoics admired disciplined men, because fortunes can disappear overnight. Character cannot. A disciplined person who loses everything can rebuild. An undisciplined person who inherits millions often destroys them. History repeats this lesson endlessly. The root of wealth is not money. The root of wealth is mastery. Mastery over desire. Mastery over emotion. Mastery over impulse. Mastery over ego. When these exist, money tends to follow. When they do not, no amount of income is enough. Seneca once warned that it is not the man who has too little who is poor. It is the man who always wants more. Think carefully about that. If your happiness depends on buying something new every week, then your peace is permanently rented. Someone else controls your emotions. A sale controls you. A trend controls you. An advertisement controls you. A stranger's opinion controls you. But when you can look at something beautiful, admire it, and still walk away, you have discovered a freedom that cannot be purchased. Saving money is therefore an act of liberation. It declares that your future deserves protection. It says your peace is worth more than temporary excitement. It proves that you value tomorrow as much as today. The Stoics would ask a simple question before every decision. Does this strengthen my character? Imagine asking that before every purchase. Does this strengthen my character? or merely satisfy a passing emotion. Most unnecessary spending disappears the moment that question becomes a habit. You begin seeing money differently. It is no longer fuel for pleasure. It becomes fuel for freedom. Freedom from panic. Freedom from dependence. Freedom from desperation. Freedom from living paycheck to paycheck. And perhaps the greatest freedom of all, the freedom to respect the person staring back at you in the mirror. Because at the end of every day, your bank account tells only one story. But your habits tell another. One measures your money. The other measures your character. The Stoics believed character was always the greater treasure. And that is why the journey toward financial security never truly begins in your wallet. It begins in your mind. It begins the moment you decide that your future is worth protecting, your discipline is worth strengthening, and your self-respect is worth far more than any temporary pleasure the world can offer. That decision, repeated day after day, becomes the quiet force that transforms not only your finances, but your entire life. Part 2. Every financial decision is a test of character. Imagine standing in a marketplace in ancient Rome. Merchants shout over one another, displaying fine garments, exotic spices, polished jewelry, and objects brought from the farthest reaches of the empire. Everywhere you look, something promises comfort, prestige, or pleasure. Now imagine walking through a modern shopping mall or scrolling through your phone. The scenery has changed. Human nature has not. The Stoics understood that temptation rarely announces itself as danger. It arrives disguised as opportunity. It whispers that you deserve a reward. It tells you that one more purchase will finally make you feel successful, admired, or complete. But every temptation carries a hidden question. Who is in control? Your reason or your impulses? This is why every financial decision is far more important than it appears. It is never just about spending $20 or saving $100. It is a daily examination of your character. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself that no external object has power over the mind unless the mind grants it permission. Think about that. An expensive watch cannot force you to buy it. A luxury car cannot compel your signature. An advertisement cannot reach into your wallet. Between every desire and every action exists a small space. Within that space lies your freedom. The Stoics trained themselves to protect that space. Modern life trains people to eliminate it. Notice how quickly the world encourages action. Buy now. Limited time. One-click checkout. Only 3 items left. Everything is designed to make you act before you think. The Stoic chooses the opposite path. Pause. Observe. Question. Reflect. Then decide. That brief pause is often the difference between financial growth and financial regret. Most people believe self-control is exhausting. The Stoics believed self-control is liberating. Every unnecessary purchase avoided removes another chain. Every thoughtful decision adds another layer of confidence. At first, discipline feels difficult because desire is loud. But over time, something remarkable happens. The voice of reason becomes stronger than the voice of impulse. You no longer feel deprived. You feel empowered. This is the transformation that cannot be measured on a bank statement. It is the transformation of identity. Instead of becoming someone who reacts emotionally to every temptation, you become someone who responds deliberately. And deliberate people rarely destroy their own future. Seneca warned that the greatest slavery is slavery to desire. Many people hear that phrase and immediately think of addiction. But desire wears many masks. The desire to impress strangers. The desire to keep up with friends. The desire to own what everyone else owns. The desire to avoid feeling left behind. These desires quietly drain not only your wallet, but also your dignity. Think about the countless purchases made for appearances rather than necessity. Designer labels purchased with borrowed money. Luxury cars financed to impress people who barely notice. Vacations taken only because someone else posted theirs online. Every one of these decisions asks for payment twice. First with money, then with peace of mind. Debt follows. Stress follows. Anxiety follows. The excitement disappears long before the payments do. The Stoics would call this exchanging freedom for illusion. Now consider another person. He sees the same temptations. He admires beautiful things. He appreciates quality, but he refuses to let desire become command. He asks himself simple questions. Do I truly need this? Will this improve my life? Or am I trying to fill an emotional void with a material object? Those questions save more money than any budgeting app ever could, because they attack the problem at its source. The problem is rarely mathematics. It is psychology. Many people earn enough to save, yet they never do. Why? Because spending has become emotional. Money becomes a way to escape boredom, to reduce loneliness, to reward stress, to celebrate success, to cope with disappointment. In other words, money becomes medicine. The Stoics believed emotions should be understood, not purchased away. If you feel lonely, buying expensive shoes will not solve loneliness. If you feel insecure, buying a luxury watch will not create confidence. If you feel anxious, shopping cannot create lasting peace. Only character can do that. This is why saving money is also emotional training. Each time you refuse to spend emotionally, you prove that your feelings do not own you. You begin separating emotion from action. That is one of the highest forms of self-mastery. Epictetus taught that freedom belongs to the person who governs himself. He did not mean political freedom alone. He meant internal freedom. Imagine two people. One earns millions but panics every time the stock market falls. Another earns an ordinary income but has savings, discipline, and patience. Who experiences less fear? Who possesses greater peace? The answer has very little to do with income. Peace comes from preparation. Fear comes from dependence. Saving money is preparation. It prepares you for uncertainty. It prepares you for opportunity. It prepares you for emergencies. Most importantly, it prepares your mind. When unexpected expenses arrive, and they always do, you respond calmly instead of desperately. That calmness is priceless. People often ask why disciplined individuals seem so confident. It is because confidence grows from evidence. Every wise financial decision becomes evidence. Evidence that you can trust yourself. Evidence that you can delay gratification. Evidence that you can survive discomfort. Evidence that your future matters. Over months and years, this evidence accumulates. Eventually, your confidence no longer depends on compliments or achievements. It depends on your proven ability to govern your own life. Marcus Aurelius ruled one of history's greatest empires, yet he repeatedly reminded himself that the only true kingdom worth ruling was the kingdom within. Today, that kingdom includes your habits, your thoughts, your reactions, and yes, your finances. Every paycheck presents a choice. Will this money become another temporary pleasure, or will it become another brick in the foundation of your future? The Stoic never worships money, but neither does he disrespect it. He understands that money is stored effort. Every dollar represents hours of life, hours that can never be returned. When you waste money carelessly, you are often wasting the time it took to earn it. That realization changes everything. You become slower to spend, more intentional, more grateful. You stop asking, "Can I afford this?" Instead, you ask, "Is this worthy of a piece of my life?" That question has extraordinary power, because life is finite. Your time is limited. Every purchase is an exchange, not simply of money, but of moments you spent working, learning, sacrificing, and growing. Once you see money this way, saving no longer feels like deprivation. It feels like honoring your own effort. It becomes an expression of self-respect. The world celebrates visible wealth, luxury homes, designer clothing, expensive vacations. But the Stoics remind us that invisible wealth is often greater: a peaceful night's sleep, freedom from debt, the ability to say no, the confidence that comes from preparation, the quiet knowledge that your future is becoming stronger because of choices no one else even notices. These are treasures that cannot be photographed, yet they create lives of extraordinary stability. As part 2 comes to an end, remember this: every financial decision is also a moral decision, not because money itself is moral, but because every choice reveals who is leading your life, your impulses, or your principles. Every dollar saved is another vote for discipline over desire, another vote for freedom over dependence, another vote for the kind of person you are becoming. And in the Stoic philosophy, That person will always matter more than the possessions he owns. Part 3. Saving money creates inner freedom. There comes a moment in every person's life when circumstances change without warning. A job disappears. A business slows down. The economy shifts. An unexpected illness arrives. A family emergency demands immediate attention. These moments reveal a truth that the Stoics understood centuries ago. Life is unpredictable. You cannot control every event. You cannot stop hardship from appearing. You cannot guarantee that tomorrow will unfold according to your plans. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily that obstacles are not exceptions to life. They are part of life. The question, then, is not whether difficulties will come. The question is whether you will be ready when they do. This is where saving money becomes much more than a financial habit. It becomes a form of Stoic preparation. The Stoics practice something called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of adversity. Instead of pretending that bad things would never happen, they imagined possible setbacks in advance, not to become fearful, but to become prepared. Preparation transforms panic into purpose. Imagine two people facing the same crisis. Both lose their jobs unexpectedly. The first has no savings. Every bill becomes a source of terror. Every phone call from a creditor increases anxiety. Every day feels like survival. The second person also feels concern. But months of disciplined saving have created breathing room. There is time to think, time to search wisely, time to make decisions based on reason rather than desperation. The external event is the same. The internal experience is completely different. This is what the Stoics meant by freedom. Freedom is not merely doing whatever you want. Freedom is refusing to become a slave to fear. Savings provide something that is often more valuable than money itself. They provide options, and options create dignity. A person with no financial margin is often forced to accept situations they know are wrong. They stay in unhealthy jobs because they cannot afford to leave. They tolerate disrespect because they fear losing income. They make rushed decisions because immediate survival demands it. The Stoics believed that a person who constantly acts from fear cannot fully exercise virtue. Fear clouds judgment. Fear weakens courage. Fear tempts compromise. Saving money reduces unnecessary fear, not because it removes every problem, but because it gives you space to face problems wisely. Think about the word security. Most people imagine large bank accounts or expensive insurance. The Stoic imagine something deeper. Security begins in the mind. A peaceful mind comes from knowing that your actions today have prepared you for tomorrow. Every dollar you save quietly tells your future self, I have not abandoned you. That is one of the greatest acts of self-respect imaginable. You are caring for someone you cannot yet see. Your future self. Modern culture encourages the opposite. Spend now, worry later, enjoy today. Figure it out somehow. The Stoics would ask a different question. What kind of life are today's decisions creating? Every habit plants a seed. Spend carelessly today, and tomorrow grows anxiety. Save consistently today, and tomorrow grows confidence. The harvest always reflects the seed. This is why self-respect grows gradually. It is not created by one heroic act. It is built through thousands of ordinary decisions. The decision to cook instead of ordering expensive meals. The decision to repair something instead of replacing it. The decision to invest instead of impress. The decision to wait before buying. These choices appear small, yet over time they shape your identity. People often underestimate the emotional power of having savings. It is not simply about seeing numbers increase. It is about what those numbers represent. Discipline, patience, consistency, responsibility. Every deposit is evidence that you are capable of thinking beyond the present moment. That evidence changes the way you see yourself. And when your self-image improves, your decisions improve. The cycle begins to work in your favor. Good habits produce confidence. Confidence produces better decisions. Better decisions produce greater freedom. Greater freedom strengthens self-respect. The Stoics understood that virtue compounds just as wealth compounds. One wise decision rarely changes your life. Thousands of wise decisions inevitably do. Now consider another form of freedom that savings create. The freedom to remain calm while others panic. History is filled with economic uncertainty. Markets rise and fall. Currencies gain and lose value. Entire industries transform. During these periods, many people make terrible decisions because fear controls them. They sell in panic. They borrow recklessly. They chase impossible promises. They become victims of urgency. The Stoic trains for exactly these moments. When everyone else is reacting emotionally, he returns to reason. He reminds himself, I control my choices, not the economy. I control my preparation, not the market. I control my habits, not external events. This mindset is incredibly powerful. Saving money reinforces it every single month. Every contribution to your future becomes another reminder that stability comes from discipline, not prediction. No one can accurately predict every crisis, but everyone can prepare more wisely. Epictetus taught that strength comes from focusing only on what is within your control. Saving is within your control. Your salary may not always be. Inflation may not be. Interest rates may not be. Government policies may not be, but your habits belong to you. And habits are where real power lives. Too many people spend years searching for financial secrets. The Stoics would smile at this. There is very little mystery. Spend less than you earn. Desire less than you can afford. Prepare before emergencies arrive. Remain grateful regardless of circumstances. Repeat. Simple principles. Extraordinary results. Unfortunately, simple does not mean easy. The greatest obstacle is often comparison. Comparison quietly destroys self-respect. You see someone driving a new car, another person buys a larger house. Someone else travels to beautiful destinations. Suddenly your own progress feels insignificant. Marcus Aurelius warned against becoming distracted by the lives of others. Your race is not against your neighbor. It is against your former self. Ask yourself, am I more disciplined than I was last year? Am I saving more consistently? Am I making wiser decisions? Am I becoming harder to manipulate through advertising and social pressure? If the answer is yes, then you are succeeding, even if no one notices. Especially if no one notices. The strongest foundations are built underground. Roots grow before branches. Character grows before wealth. The world sees the branches. The Stoic protects the roots. That is why financial independence often appears slow at first. Nothing dramatic seems to happen. Month after month, the progress feels invisible. But beneath the surface, your life is changing. Stress decreases. Confidence increases. Options multiply. Fear loses its grip. This quiet transformation is one of the greatest rewards of disciplined saving. You become less reactive, less desperate, less controlled by circumstances, more patient, more thoughtful, more resilient. These qualities extend far beyond money. They improve relationships, leadership, health, decision-making. Because discipline in one area rarely remains isolated. It spreads. A disciplined saver often becomes a disciplined thinker, a disciplined worker, a disciplined parent, a disciplined leader. The habit of honoring tomorrow begins influencing every part of life. This is why the Stoics believed virtue was interconnected. One strength nourishes another. By saving money, you are not merely building financial security. You are strengthening patience, courage, wisdom, temperance, the very virtues the Stoics considered essential for a meaningful life. As this part comes to a close, remember one simple truth. Money can disappear, markets can crash, jobs can change, fortunes can rise and fall, but the disciplined character that allowed you to save in the first place can never be taken from you. And that character is the greatest wealth you will ever possess. Because once you learn to master yourself, no external circumstance can truly make you poor. Part 4. the wealth that no one can take away. There is a strange irony in modern life. Many people spend years chasing wealth, yet lose themselves along the way. They sacrifice peace for status. They exchange freedom for appearances. They mistake consumption for success. And when they finally acquire the things they once dreamed of, they discover that the emptiness remains. The Stoics understood this long before our time. They knew that no amount of money could compensate for a lack of character, nor could poverty destroy the dignity of a disciplined person. This is why they measured wealth differently. True wealth was never counted in coins. It was counted in freedom. Freedom from greed, freedom from fear, freedom from envy, freedom from the endless hunger for more. Saving money, when practiced with the Stoic mindset, is one of the clearest expressions of that freedom. It is not driven by fear of spending, nor by obsession with becoming rich. It is driven by wisdom, the wisdom to understand that every decision you make today shapes the person you become tomorrow. Imagine your future self 10 years from now. He is sitting quietly one morning, drinking coffee before the world wakes. He is not overwhelmed by bills. He is not terrified by unexpected expenses. He is not forced to accept every opportunity out of desperation. Instead, he has choices. He has peace. He has confidence. He has time to think before he acts. Now ask yourself a simple question. Who created that future? No politician, no employer, no miracle. It was created by the version of you who quietly chose discipline over impulse, day after day, year after year. That is the hidden beauty of saving money. The rewards arrive slowly, but they arrive with extraordinary force. Most people expect dramatic transformations. The Stoics trusted gradual ones. A tree does not become mighty in a single season. A river carves through stone not because it is powerful in one moment, but because it is persistent over thousands of days. Your financial character develops the same way. One wise decision seems insignificant. One unnecessary purchase avoided appears meaningless. One investment feels too small to matter. But consistency possesses a power that intensity never will. Many people work incredibly hard to earn money. Very few work equally hard to deserve it. The Stoics believed that money should be governed by virtue. Wisdom should direct earning. Temperance should direct spending. Justice should direct generosity. Courage should direct investment. Without virtue, wealth often becomes destructive. History proves this repeatedly. Fortunes inherited without discipline disappear. Businesses built without integrity collapse. Careers fueled only by greed eventually consume themselves. Character is the container that holds wealth safely. Without that container, money leaks away regardless of how much enters. This is why saving money builds self-respect. Because saving requires qualities that improve every area of life. Patience, humility, responsibility, consistency, self-control, gratitude. These virtues cannot be purchased. They must be practiced. Every time you resist an unnecessary purchase, you strengthen patience. Every time you save before spending, you strengthen responsibility. Every time you ignore social pressure, you strengthen courage. Every time you choose purpose over pleasure, you strengthen character. Eventually, something remarkable happens. You stop feeling proud because of what you own. You begin feeling proud because of who you have become. That is a completely different kind of confidence. It is quiet. It does not seek attention. It has no need to prove itself. The Stoics admired this kind of strength above all others. Marcus Aurelius never believed that power came from controlling others. Power came from controlling himself. The same principle applies to money. Financial strength is not demonstrated by expensive possessions. It is demonstrated by disciplined choices. Anyone can appear wealthy for a season. Credit can purchase appearances. Debt can imitate success. Luxury can be rented, but peace cannot. Peace belongs only to those whose lives rest upon solid foundations. One of the greatest gifts that saving provides is the ability to act according to your values instead of your fears. You can leave work that destroys your dignity. You can refuse dishonest opportunities. You can help your family in times of need. You can support causes that matter to you. You can invest in learning instead of merely surviving. Money itself does not create these possibilities. Discipline creates them. Money simply makes them visible. The Stoics often compared life to preparing for a long journey. A wise traveler packs carefully, not because he expects disaster at every turn, but because preparation allows him to travel without unnecessary fear. Your savings are part of that preparation. They are provisions for the road ahead. They remind you that the future deserves your attention today. But perhaps the greatest lesson of all is this: never allow money to become your identity. The purpose of saving is not to worship wealth. The purpose is to free yourself from worshipping wealth. There is an enormous difference. One man saves because he fears never having enough. Another saves because he values independence. Externally, their actions appear identical. Internally, they live completely different lives. The Stoic seeks balance. Earn honestly, spend wisely, save consistently, give generously, remain grateful. Never confuse your net worth with your self-worth. Money is a useful servant. It is a terrible master. When you understand this, saving becomes an act of wisdom rather than anxiety. You no longer compare yourself with people who spend recklessly. You no longer envy those who display temporary luxury. You recognize that appearances fade, but character endures. And so you continue your quiet work. Another dollar saved, another temptation resisted, another promise kept, another step toward freedom. The world may never applaud these victories. It may never notice them at all. But you will notice. Each time you look in the mirror, you will know that you are becoming someone you can trust. Someone who keeps his word. Someone who prepares instead of panics. Someone who values substance over appearances. Someone who is slowly building a life that cannot easily be shaken. That is self-respect, and it is worth more than anything money alone could ever buy. Conclusion: become rich in character. The Stoics never promised an easy life. They promised something greater, a meaningful one. They taught that the quality of your life depends less on what happens to you and more on how you respond. Saving money is one of the clearest examples of this philosophy. Every paycheck offers a decision. Will you satisfy today's impulse, or protect tomorrow's peace? Will you impress strangers, or invest in your future? Will you allow desire to rule you, or will reason take its rightful place? These questions have nothing to do with your income. They have everything to do with your character. Whether you earn a little or a lot, the principles remain the same. Respect your labor. Honor your future. Master your desires. Live below your means. Be grateful for what you already possess. Let your savings become a reflection of your discipline rather than your fear. Remember the words often attributed to the Stoic tradition. Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. The fewer unnecessary desires control you, the richer you become. Not only financially, but emotionally, mentally, spiritually. One day, years from now, you will look back at the countless ordinary choices that no one else noticed. The meals you cooked instead of buying, the luxuries you delayed, the temptations you resisted, the small amounts you saved when they seemed insignificant. And you will realize they were never small. They were the bricks that built your freedom. They were the habits that built your confidence. They were the promises that built your self-respect. Because in the end, the greatest investment you will ever make is not in a stock, a business, or a bank account. It is in the disciplined person you choose to become. That person is your greatest asset. That person is your greatest wealth. And unlike money, that wealth can never be stolen. So as you leave today, remember this simple Stoic truth. Save not because you worship money. Save because every act of discipline strengthens your character. And when your character becomes rich, true wealth will always find its way to you.